Yes, my professional journey, I would start with probably the education background. So I'm a trained economist. I did my bachelor's degree in economics, specializing in money and banking here in Kigali. And later on, I went to South Africa for a master's degree in economics. And I measured there in monetary policy and econometrics at Wits University in Joburg. And later on, I had multiple certifications in the area of development finance, really ranging from MSME finance to digital finance, investment and securities, and really supporting SMEs and low-income people to access and use financial services. Then after all these studies, really, my first career was in commercial banking, where I started as a credit analyst, became a branch manager, and later on joined a big group, KCB, that's Kenya Commercial Bank, as regional business manager, and later on head of retail and MSME banking. And then I did that quite for some time, and I thought it was time to change and see how I can support SMEs really grow, first incubate some of their ideas, and then translate them into businesses that are viable, and see whether they can create some value in the economy. And that's when I was with Rwanda Business Development Center as CEO. Then I decided to change and really to join the development finance community. And that's when, back in 2014, I went to Access to Finance Rwanda as Director of Programs. And since last month, I'm the CEO. And this has been 7 years kind of journey, which to me is quite rewarding. So I believe I'm using both my brain and heart to support low-income people and MSMEs to access financial services. And that's probably why I'm here on this world. And I'm so proud of the progress that has already been made over time. As you know, Rwanda stands at 93% financial inclusion. I must say that as an organization, we have contributed to that journey and to that success that we see. So I'm enjoying doing this work, and I look forward to what the future holds, and mainly after the pandemic. So a lot has to change, a lot has to come on the table, and we see how we continue supporting the financial sector, but also the entire economy. I just wanted to give a piece of advice. In the professional career, so it's very important that you choose your area as early as possible, guided by mentors, and people who have been in different positions or in different industries, who can really lead you to the right direction in terms of your strength, but also attitude and what you want to achieve in life. So once you have settled there and you believe that's where you are meant to be, it's very important that you back it with knowledge. So that's why you saw a lot in terms of education and upskilling, even post my master's degree. So that's very critical, because you want to do something that you understand, and you want to provide some thought leadership in that area. So that's really something that someone needs to invest in. And don't wait for someone else to invest in that, but you should invest your time, invest your energy, invest even your money into upskilling over time, because the world is dynamic, the world is changing, and the skill you acquired 3 years ago is not the skill that you will use in today's circumstances and situations. In terms of COVID-19 and how it has impacted the inclusive finance sector, so it's quite, I must say that it's exactly a year and 2 months today that we saw the first case in Rwanda, and we have been living with COVID-19. And this pandemic has completely changed many aspects of our lives, be it our family life, professional life, or social life. We have been seeing changes and adapting, and that has also, and those changes, some have been, majority have been really negative, because as human beings, I feel like we are wired to be together, to interact and to exchange when we can face each other. I look at even this conversation, it's online. I think there are benefits to have it really in person. Now, specifically to the inclusive finance sector, it has been affected in a bigger way, mainly because when it hit, everyone had to change priorities, and that's really required for us as Access to Finance Rwanda to make some adaptation of our interventions to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, and adapting interventions that were ongoing already was quite hard, and a big thanks to our development partners who were quite flexible to accept some adjustments so that we respond to COVID. And we introduced some new interventions that weren't there and were never been thought of before. So we introduced what we call SME response claim to see how we can avail information to MSMEs, support them, and see how they can navigate through this crisis. We introduced a real-time dashboard for digital transactions to support policymaking with the policymakers in Rwanda. And that really helped a lot, because different positive measures they took were informed by data, real data that we would see from the dashboard that we put up. So that was quite critical, because all these digital transactions, were tracked on a daily basis. We did some research really to look at the impact of COVID on the banking industry, on the microfinance sector, on the insurance sector. And we also put some macroeconomic scenarios to see, looking at the way the economy was behaving vis-a-vis what was happening, and predict what effects would be there for the next few months or in years. Secondly, it's about the people, low-income people that we serve as AFR. Most of them lost their jobs, and their livelihood was seriously affected. So that's really very bad as an outcome of this, and that has created so many other consequences in their lives and family lives, and that's really very it's tragic really when you look at it. So development partners, our strategic focus also has shifted. They are facing their own challenges back home, and you find some of them really, not, feeling that they should limit funding, and that really constrains our work. But others also are looking at what should be the right focus of their resources, and that has in a way shifted the way we look at what we do as well as a market facilitator. Financial service providers, through these surveys, we saw that they were negatively affected, and that we need some time to recover to be able to support the low-income people and the MSMEs. So what are the anticipated medium and long-term changes really? We see shifting from access to usage, I would say, to benefit. So as market facilitator, it's not just facilitating access and usage, but We want to see when someone have access to financial products and services, does it translate to a job, an increased income, a well-being for himself and the people who are close to him. So all of that, or her. So that's very critical. And that's, I think, what brings value to the economy and people. We see that disaster preparedness is and minimization of effects through relevant policies and strategies will be key, not only for the public sector, but also for the private sector. And that is very clear that every country, every organization will make sure that they put in place some business continuity plans that will ensure their preparedness, but also once any other disaster comes, they're able to minimize the effects. Technology and cashless agenda will be the norm going forward, and that's really has been shown through different, researches or studies. It has grown. The growth pattern for the digital payments is very high. And that's what will be maintained, I believe, for the next decade. I think something that is also very important is really to make sure that whatever we do is transformational, is sustainable, and it will set structures that will support economic transformation and improve the livelihood. So those are some of the reflections I have in the face of COVID and what it has created and what people would do or governments would do going forward. It's very important that we start with the demand needs. So these low-income people, these MSMEs, what are the real needs? In the current circumstance, and whenever we want to design any product, any project, any service from the financial sector, it's very important that we are mindful of the demand side needs, and whatever we design is really client-centric, and it addresses exactly the current needs. I think, and I believe there's a high need of usage of non-traditional ways and instruments. I think we should start looking at ways that the low-income people and the MSMEs are given products and services that not only align to their situation and currently look at different SMEs, for instance, are recovering at their own pace, and you can't say if you have a certain product, it will be one size fits all. No, I think it's very important to look at their risks, look at their cash flow patterns, and allow some flexibility in your proposition as a financial service provider. I also believe in collaboration and synergies between governments, financial service providers, the development community, and other players in the market. It's very important that we see these synergies and collaboration, because one entity or one organization can't really support effectively these people that you want to support. And I believe there's a role by fintechs. They will bring innovation that responds exactly to the needs that are there. And last but not least, we should focus on recovery. And that should be our first priority as players in this space, because if you don't focus on recovery, then we have lost it at start. It's very important that we understand that these SMEs, these low-income people, they need first to recover before they take what is business as usual forward. inclusion is still relevant, and I must say we have been doing great work, but I think there is a shift that is required, and the shift is really to look first at those segments that are still unserved and underserved, and those that are struggling in the aftermath of COVID-19. I believe the impact of COVID has been huge on everyone, but when you look at some segments, I believe they require some additional support, or they require some particular attention. And those are women, those are youth. Why am I saying that? Because women, we know, and many studies have shown that they had a lot, hit in terms of COVID-19 pandemic, looking at the way they had to multitask, working from home with family obligations wasn't easy. How do you focus on such kind of segment of the population? Youth, in Africa, we have majority of youth either working in the informal sector or without any job. How do you support them? Those are segments that need some particular attention. Refugees, smallholder farmers, informal sector workers, and MSMEs. I think those segments, they still need our attention. They still need us to unlock financial services to them and ensure that they continue contributing like any other economic agents. But I mentioned about the shift, and I think the shift should be really to create an environment or structures or to catalyze change in the ecosystem that will ensure that jobs are being created, and not any job, but meaningful jobs that can stand the situations, and then make sure that we enhance incomes for different segments and improve the well-being of people. And this is very critical. We have dubbed it as financial inclusion 2.0, which is very critical because this is very needed, and it's in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. And that's very important, that whatever we do in financial inclusion is translating into something that brings or delivers value to people and the economy. Well, it's very hard to talk about opportunities, really. Yet some people lost jobs, lost incomes, but also lost some hope. And that is really affecting them. And when you talk about opportunities, they might think that probably that's not the right word to use now. But I believe, as you rightly said, in every circumstance, there is good and bad. And it's very important that everyone has such kind of understanding. And to this particular segment of the economy, the financial sector, I believe we need to focus on first creating resilience of people and their businesses. And how do you create that? It's really ensuring that you are giving them the products that are aligned to their needs, but also products that are really responding to the needs of the economy. So that's very critical. And when you look at, at the country level, I think we need to start rethinking on how we finance import substitution. As you know, most of the countries were locked down, and even borders were closed. Everyone was conscious about the safety and the health of their population. Now, whoever was importing is the one that suffered most, because and most of our economies are still dependent on some products and services from abroad. So that was very hard. So it's high time that import substitution is thought about and is financed to the right levels. Number two is about, and I would say, I mean, in that line of import substitution, it's really ensuring that the financial sector is supporting productive sectors of the economy. And that would be agriculture, agro-processing, manufacturing, ICT, logistics. How do you provide the right financing there that will provide real value to the economy and the people? So that's very important. Number two is about disaster recovery mechanisms. I think most of the public and private sector, leaders thought about disaster recovery mechanism. I think whoever had it and business plan, business continuity plans, whoever didn't have it or had it, and I think everyone has been working hard to strengthen it and to ensure that in the future, whenever there is such a kind of disaster, there is a recovery plan, and there are even some strategies to mitigate. I believe also that it's high time to rethink health systems and policies. You heard that some of the countries are thinking of producing vaccines locally because it's always hard to have all these protocols observed to deliver different products across the globe. And when you have it locally, then you'll be able to serve your people as easy as possible. So all of those are shifts that will happen. And I believe they will require some financial sector support. And that's where we should start looking at and focus our energies and interventions to ensure that that is being put in place. I believe also that digital financial services will continue to be delivered across the board, because one of the key learnings we got really is that even those people that were not using digital channels, they started using them because that was the only way, especially when they were under lockdown, that they would transact and pay for services and order products and so on that they needed at that time. So I think that's very critical, and accelerating digital financial services development is very key. I see also the leaders increasing the IT security for their businesses and ensuring that consumer protection is maintained. That's very key because IT systems and then security around it and consumer protection will be key going forward. I foresee that partnerships with fintechs and other service providers will be key for industry players because fintechs understand they are quite agile to adapt to new circumstances and to innovate as quick as possible. And we saw it during this pandemic. Business probably should have a focus on shared value and really creating value to the society and having meaningful partnerships that will deliver to the people and businesses. And that's, I believe that, when I look at it, we had in Rwanda savings groups that I think you call them chamas on that side. You find that they were operating manually using books and boxes of money. And when this pandemic hit, it was very hard to have those meetings. They weren't able to pull and push money to the bank as we do through mobile banking. So we saw some fintechs really coming in. They had come in, they had some innovations. And what happened during the pandemic was really to integrate with banks so that they can transact digitally without any meetings or manual intervention. So those are partnerships that should be encouraged going forward to ensure that we provide value that is required by our people. Thank you. As I said, I highlighted, I think producing and consuming local is very key, and that goes for products and services. So what we've seen is that yes, you can't even get the right consultants that you previously you would get, and even the remote support that is being offered has some limitations. So it's very key that I mean, our economies start building such kind of skills locally, and when the world is starting opening up, I think we need to put down the right structures to ensure that that is happening going forward, because depending on external stakeholders or service providers will always be a problem, especially in this dynamic world where you can't predict what happens tomorrow. And I think not only producing locally for import substitution, but also leaders should ensure that they upskill their teams to have such kind of skills that we require from outside, and ensure that that is not only, I mean, provided to your current headcount, but ensure you have mechanisms where you bring in kind of interns or that come from time to time to gain such kind of knowledge, and probably attach some of the local talents to such kind of service providers that are coming from abroad, so that there's effective knowledge transfer that will help us when we reach these kind of situations.